Aloha, gang. How are y'all? It is Wednesday, and I see someone backstage that I'm going to share with you guys in a second. Except I just realized I only have two chews for dogs, so I will have to talk someone into regular treats instead. So, nope, that's not going to work. I'll give him a pig ear. How's that? You can have a pig ear. How's that? Hey, gang. Sorry about that. Let me bring Sleuth up. We got Sleuth sitting backstage. Hey, Sleuth, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Other than you and I are talking, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got the treats all right here. And then I looked in and I'm like, there's only two left there, and I got three dogs. That doesn't work. So, oh, poor Wrigley thinks he's looking at me like, where's mine? Where's mine? Please give me my treat, please.
Like, this is not fair.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can cuddle with mommy. How's that? You can come cuddle with mommy. How's that? Yeah. Yes, you can cuddle. So, how are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got off work. It's been a long day, but
Yeah,
good otherwise.
yeah. Yay, yay. Yes, you hit Wednesday, you get a lot of things going on, and it's like, oh my gosh. Friday's almost around the corner, though. Just one more day of waking up, and then we're at Friday. See, it goes quick. Yeah. So, yeah,
Almost there.
who almost there exactly. And I have no craft fairs now until November 1st. We
Oh,
decided
wow.
just to, yeah. So instead, we're just loading up soft. In fact, isn't this cute? It's a little compact mirror, Shiba Inu dog. So I've got a couple different ones. So I'm like, so I'm
That'll give
working
you
on
time to
those.
restock yourself and the website, by the
Exact
way.
the website. Yeah. Didn't we talk about that last week? Yes. You want to do that for me, Wrigley? That can be your job. Yeah. So, and I need to do that badly. So, who we got in chat? I know I was talking to Kim. Hello, Miss Kim. I'm happy you're doing good. Yeah, Kim, I was asking people this whole idea of DNA. And we see it all the time in true crime where people are identified cold cases. It's just this new thing that at first it was like, oh, you can find out who's guilty, but we're also now starting to see where we can bring people home. Not always in, not always alive, but there've been a few cases that they've been alive, and those are some of the cases we're going to talk about today. So, so we have them. We have in the bushes. How you doing, my dear? Ocean Tide saying hi to both of us. And Red Rock. Yep, the puppers are here. And also, um, I wanted to real quickly before we get going, he's of course going to sit in a really weird position right now. So, and I wanted to share this out with before we get going. As you guys know, Misha is still missing. And oh, by the way, Sleuth, I was having my dogs groomed today, and I have a mobile groomer. He lives just down the street from where Ariel lived at the
Oh,
Clueless.
wow.
Yeah, I didn't last time I went over to the fence. All of a sudden, I looked across the street, well, across the street down, okay, the cul-de-sac, and I was
Mhm.
like, wait, that's the grooming truck. So when he showed up today, we got talking, and oh my gosh, we really had some good discussions about stuff,
Yeah.
and everything he thinks going on, frustrations. He's like he can't believe they still aren't up for trial yet. He keeps thinking they're going to cop a plea, and I don't know why I don't see them copying. I don't know. What's your thought on that? I know I didn't prep you for that.
I feel like if they were going to do it, it would have happened already. And I really was honestly expecting it to be on Sunny's side of things because
Yes.
I do believe that in my heart that I believe that he was more the cleanup guy, getting rid of the evidence, getting rid of Ariel, things like that, where Lehua was probably um the main suspect and things like that. However, the fact that he hasn't tells me that there's more to this crime than I want to know, honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot more there. And that's kind of where he and I were going, and he's the one who brought it up. Hey there, Kathleen, how you doing, my dear? He was talking about that too, that in theory, what we're seeing, she's the one who was responsible for Ariel's death. Okay, if you look at the active response, it's kind of like we're talking right now with Madeline and Stefan. I mean, who's really responsible in the end? And they both hold some responsibility in my eyes. But he, on the other hand, was the one more covering up. There's something else there, something that he knows if it comes together in the end. Okay, is that fingerprints on the tape? Is it? I don't know, but there's still something else there.
I honestly think whenever it comes down to it, that he may have her on Ariel's crime, and,
Mhm.
like, as far as, like, he could probably give evidence about that, but I think that there was other stuff based on things that I have heard in the background that she could then turn and point the finger at him,
Bingo,
and
bingo.
so that's where it comes down to.
Yep,
Right now, it's just the 2 of them, burning and rotting for this eventually,
yep,
someday,
yep.
but I think that it would be more family members of his, of hers, more
Yep.
people that they were involved with, different things like that would all start coming in, and so this keeps them from being "snitches," quote, unquote, and keeps it just
Exactly.
the 2 of them where they
Yep,
have to stay quiet. That's just
yep.
my honest to
No,
goodness opinion and
I
theory.
and that makes sense, and, one of the things we were talking everyone has something that even I hate to put it, all the way to the state. Okay, you got the 2 of them covering up things. Okay, she has, like you said, okay, she's more on the murder side. He may have some other things here, which you and I know what we're talking there. And then you've got the state. The state right now has a lot of stuff that I don't think they really want coming out. And
Agreed.
the system needs fixed, plain and
And you
simple.
know what? And that's happening in a lot of locations, not just Hawaii. I want to say that
Yeah.
because I can't remember which state it was, but I was scrolling through my post. Like I follow so many different news sources and police stations and different things
Yeah.
like that from different posts that or different cases over the time. So it's somewhere that we have covered recently that it would still be in my list. But they were saying that we were going to see a police activity around all of these different locations for the next couple days because they're investigating members of the government, the local
Wow.
government, like the police, like updated to let people know, like it has nothing to do with those like it's nothing to be alarmed about,
People
blah blah
living
blah.
in
You're
the
gonna
yeah.
see stuff, but they're investigating their actual leaders and stuff like that. And they just came
Good.
right out and said it. And so that was eyebrow raising for me.
Good. Yeah, yeah, ocean tide. Oh my. Yeah, no, that is good to hear because as I've said from the beginning, Ariel, Gianna, all these other cases and all, it's not about, oh, you screwed up, the system screwed up. No, let's fix the damn thing. And if we're not going to fix the system, then you know what? Yeah, we're going to hold you responsible for it. You either fix it, accept that something is broken in the system and fix it, or you're telling us that you think the system is perfect. And if you're going to say that, then we're going to bring it to your attention what is not. And also, but it was an interesting discussion he and I had. In fact, I'm kind of surprised I didn't get sunburnt outside because he's a mobile groomer, and we're literally out there as he's grooming. Who was it? Kia. And the whole time, and we're just talk, 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 talk. Texas is privatizing. That might be good, actually. My personal thought. I don't know where you stand on privatizing of things, but in most cases that I've seen, it ends up working better in the end
Mhm.
when you
Yeah,
do.
I actually agree with that. I think a big part of the problem is that it's not privatized to a certain extent, and it's becoming like where the state is able to access the funds too easily to
Mhm.
utilize them in different areas
Yeah,
instead of the areas that they're meant to be. It's
meant to
too
be
easy
used.
whenever you have, oh, well, ten
Yeah,
hundred thousand dollars is supposed to go to CPS, but I would
yeah.
much rather give them $1,000 and take that other $900,000 and put it towards my
Wherever.
yacht. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly, exactly. Well, no, I know Hawaii years and years and years ago actually did that with healthcare. And our hospital system was our public hospital system. Okay, where we had, I think it was like 12 hospitals across, the islands. And it's quasi, privatized. So it's a system called HHSC, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation. And also, they're still required to do a lot of the mandates. that are required by healthcare,
Mhm.
but they're privatized to an extent where they have to okay, they have to pull their own money in. They have to do a lot of these other things.
Right.
And I think over time it does help the system. It takes creates a little bit more accountability for
Sure.
what's going on.
I think the
So,
only thing that I would be
mm,
hesitant for it to go fully privatized would be
full.
the adoption process. Only because people charge way too much money for these adoption
Mhm.
agencies.
Yep.
And I don't think that you should have to pay $10,000 to adopt a
Mm,
child.
nope.
Should you have to have your own resources and be able to afford the kids and things like that and not be
Yeah.
using them for a paycheck? Absolutely. But I don't want to end up in a situation where they make it too costly to adopt
Mm,
and things like that, where more kids get left in the system
right.
than needs to be.
Right. And I think that's where one thing, and I'm not saying HHSC is a perfect example because there's a lot of
Right.
things that could be fixed with it, but that was one of the reasons why they did this quasi thing. Because even in healthcare, you have certain things that it's like, you know what, you still need to have this, okay, ability to say, okay, if you're not getting money for things or psychological care, because for example, TB care. Okay, it was mandated. We have had an issue with tuberculosis in Hawaii, and it was mandated that certain hospitals provide that level that care. So that's something that I think if you're looking at family services and all, there are certain things that have to have some level of oversight to ensure that the quality is there.
Right.
Okay, and that we're not playing. But you know what? Right now, public is just as bad as completely privatized in these
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
So, and okay, well, that was a fun little discussion. See, that's why you and I always have fun together.
Right. And now we digest.
Exactly, exactly. But that will, yeah, Red Rock. Know what you're in Fort Worth. Let us know what you're hearing, and I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. And now you've decided to come back to this side. Joy, joy. So, anyhow, Misha, where I started. Um, The family okay, I wanted to share this out for those of you who, have been following her case and would like to help out in some of these cases. Um, right now, he is still not helping out. He's not answering questions. He is like zip, zip right across. Okay, I'm not going to give any information out whatsoever. So they are still looking for her. Okay, but they're also turning the corner a little bit in that it's not just a search for Misha anymore. It's also about domestic violence now. They're starting to, I see some tipping their toes into the pool of, you know what, this can't keep happening. We need to do something about domestic violence. So, a couple things that I wanted to bring to people's attention. And I know a lot of you guys are from the mainland and can't necessarily, for like example, this thing that I'm sharing here, they're actually going to have a barbecue chicken and shrimp okay, fundraiser lunch plate. A lot of people are wanting to help support this, so they're sponsoring these lunch plates. So they're buying a lunch plate that either the money can all just go straight into things or to donate to someone else who could use it. So this came out actually recently. Thank you all for your efforts in locating Misha and Armani, baby Armani, as of the 25th today. They still have not been located, and Dwayne Arthur Johnson II is still uncooperative. However, we'd like to announce that we are fundraising. All proceeds go towards making Misha and baby Armani's vigil beautiful, sending off their spirit in a way that they deserve. Prepay using cash, or you can Venmo, and they have Esperanza's okay Venmo here. Now, like I said, this is for a plate lunch. So any of you guys from Hawaii, especially Oahu, okay, if you contact them and you do okay, buy a plate lunch, it's $25. They will tell you where you can go pick it up. For those of you who would like to donate or sponsor a plate lunch, you can also do that, or even just send a donation to help towards, okay, remembering the two of them and all. So there's that. The other side of what I wanted to share with you is this. They have t-shirts out now and always local. Okay, there's a group always support local is the one who's donating these t-shirts and all. Um, and you can buy them. Okay, on the front, hashtag justice for Misha. On the back, never again. And we're starting to address the issue of domestic violence. And they've got the gorgeous little butterfly and the silhouette of the different stuff on the side. Hey, Seal, how you doing, my dear? So if you're interested in one of those, just pull us back here. $12 for small through XL, 14 if you're like me who needs a 2X or a 3X. So, and you can get in touch with them at always support local if you're interested in one of those t-shirts. I love how they actually have a little design on the back rather than just plain words. So if anyone's interested in that, please consider. And for all of you on Oahu, this is my last little plug I wanted to throw in on all this. Schofield Barracks is going to be doing their annual domestic violence, advocacy awareness month. Okay, we're going into that with October. October 4th, they are going to be doing the 5K walk. Okay, please consider. It's free for all ID card holders and guests, no registration needed. Please contact any of the information there if you're interested in walking in. So, wanted to just share that out. Can you believe it's already almost October? One more week. Oh boy,
This
boy,
month
boy.
went way too fast. Way
Yeah.
too fast. Hi, Seal.
Yeah. Next thing you know, it's going to be Christmas. Yeah. And
Be
have you
quiet.
started your? Yeah, last year at
I have
this time
3
we had
birthdays,
Venmo.
but all of my kids have between
Oh
November and
my
Christmas. Like, no,
gosh.
no, no.
No, 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 no. Yeah, last time we had the whole Team U thing. Did your whole Christmas for you was Team U, Team U, Team U. So Team U is getting quicker at delivering stuff, I'm discovering. I've had a lot of things delivered just like that recently. So mhm. Okay, dokie. Yeah, the older we get, the more the time flies. You got it. So, I was kind of talking to you a little bit before we started Sleuth about DNA. Let me ask you and everyone else here. I know not everyone participates in like ancestry.com or 23andMe. I actually do both. Do you do that at all by any chance? Have you ever gotten
So I've
into
never
either of
done
those?
it. I've
Okay.
thought about doing it. My aunt did it, and then my aunt has traced our genealogy like back to goodness, I want to say like the 1500s. Like she's gone
Oh my
way back. And so
gosh.
like for me, it hasn't seemed like as much of a point because I know where we come from,
Where you
if
come
that
from.
makes
Yeah,
sense. Um,
exactly. No,
so yeah.
now that makes sense. That makes What about you guys in chat? Let me know. How many of you guys participate in one or the other? I know I started it with ancestry.com before they even did DNA. I was with
Right.
Ancestry for that
Yeah, that's what
reason.
she does. She's chased us all the way back. That's why
Ah,
whenever there
that's
was somebody
nuts.
trying to say that I had an uncle or an aunt in the, Midwest, I was like, "No, I don't."
No, 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 no,
No, nobody like
no.
that. So I knew.
It's
Anyways,
like,
not to
nope,
not
nope,
to go
nope.
down that rabbit hole,
Well,
but
I went down one area and then found out I had it completely wrong. But I've even found out some things. Like I found out my grandmother has a possible sister out there that she never knew about that was put up for adoption. And so there's these little stories we all hear about. My brother's brother-in-law found out through that okay, he was adopted. And this is all that side of DNA. And it's bringing up all these totally things that no one knew. Seal, okay, right there. 23 found out you had 11 brothers and it's crazy what we find out. Hey, BTM. And people finding out they are related to someone or whatever. Now, I'll be honest, I do the 23andMe now a lot of times because the health side of the DNA. It's been interesting finding out, for example, okay, I found out through DNA and 23andMe that I'm a carrier of cystic fibrosis. And I always wondered why you look at reasons why did I not have children or stuff. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that was God's way of protecting things because that would have been something I would have, as a single mom, had to deal with. So interesting how those things happen. But one of the things I'm going to bring up someone real quickly. I covered this little guy, and he's one of those cases that just stick in our heads that we can't let go. And that was Gabriel Scott Johnson. I don't know how many of you guys remember talking about him. It was probably about a year and a half ago. And he actually was most likely handed off, his mom handed him off to what they think was a baby broker. And they've never been able to find him since, his paternal side of the family. And in talking with family on the paternal side, they are hoping that DNA is going to be how they find him someday. Because look at the age he was when he disappeared, 7 months old. He's not going to remember that he was adopted illegally or anything like that. So that's kind of what I was kind of looking at things for today and thought, you know what, we've had two cases. Have you heard of either of these cases that I was going to mention today?
I have actually. Yeah,
You did.
mhm. And as far as like cases like Gabriel's go, I feel like we're gonna actually be in that situation with a lot more kids than we ever could have imagined.
Yep.
I don't think that every single missing child that has been missing for a long time is deceased. And I know a lot of people, detail or default to that thought and think, oh, they're going to eventually find the evidence and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't honestly believe that. I think that there are a lot more of them who have been traded or sold or, you know, put into different homes just to spite the families and things like that. One of the children who actually comes to my mind is Vanessa Morales. I think they're going to find her someday.
Oh, because of that. Yeah.
Her mom was murdered by her dad, and he took her car seat, he took her diaper bag, he took her favorite toys and things like
Right.
that, and they never found her. They never have found her or any evidence that she was deceased. And I mean, and we're talking about he left behind a trail of evidence after he killed her mom. So I doubt that he
Right.
would have not left evidence of her being deceased. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
children like that though, she was just a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Exactly. No,
yeah,
exactly. Who was the other one? There was it was a dad who his three boys. He has three
Skeleton
boys.
Brothers. Yeah, that's a case that I've
Yes.
covered too. That
Yep.
them, I
I
think
think
that
them
there is a
too.
possibility that they could be out there somewhere.
Yep.
And I think that he went to jail. He allowed himself to go to jail. He's actually out now, I believe. But he allowed himself to go to jail in order to not have to say where they are. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And I think that that happens in a lot of different cases.
Yep.
But
I
yes, Red
honest
Rock,
yeah.
that's what we're getting ready to talk about.
You bet. That's exactly it right here. And that's the thing. We talk about hope. Sebastian. Okay. All these cases, there is hope. Okay. Until we know there is not hope. I I'm like you. I believe, yes, even some of these cases were in my heart. Oh gosh, probably not. You hold on to that hope because I guarantee you in both of these cases we're going to talk about today. One is what Red Rock just said. A 70-year-old man who was reunited with his brother. He was kidnapped in California. Okay. Basically, what ended up happening is he was lured away with candy by this woman who grabbed him and then ended up sending him to the East Coast where he was adopted. And he grew up his whole life knowing that he was adopted, but nothing else. You forget a lot of that stuff.
Right?
And second case was actually one I remember. I was in Texas when mom broke her hip and it first started coming out. Melissa, who was an infant, I think like 10 months old, when she was abducted by a babysitter. And her mom spent decades. Okay. And then all of a sudden, she was found again through DNA and all. So it's these cases. So what I thought we'd do is we'll go ahead and these cases, because of the family, I have articles we'll go through also. But the interviews to me are great because you get to see, and I will say this one's bittersweet. I don't know if you followed this case. I did not know this till actually I was reading the article that we're going to go through. He was able to be reconnected with his brother. It was actually his niece who found him.
Mhm.
And he was reconnected with his brother 2 months before his brother passed away.
Oh, wow.
So it's bittersweet and all, but his brother was able, when he passed away, he knew he at least got to see his
I was
brother
gonna say,
again.
maybe even that, like, closure, that peace, you know what I mean? Knowing that he was found.
Yes. That's true. That's true. And I'm not sure what he died of, but that makes sense completely.
You
So
gotta be like, think about this from this perspective. To be the other child, like, I know this one's 70 years later, so this isn't something where his parents got to see or anything like that.
right.
But to be the child that wasn't the one who disappeared, imagine growing up in that
And
household.
that's
Like, I
true.
can only imagine being the mom of somebody who is
Mhm.
somebody who disappeared. You lost your
Yeah.
child. How overprotective, how scared you would be, how hesitant you would
Yeah.
be to, like, let the other kid out of your sight ever. And then always that I I don't even know, like,
No,
the
it's a
loss, like,
shadow.
the loss
Yeah.
that never goes away, and the wondering, the always wondering, "Was
Mhm.
he alive? Was he not alive?" Like, I can only
Right.
imagine how many times that conversation happened,
Oh,
or
yeah.
how much
That
that
and
feeling, so, yeah.
that's what the niece kept saying. They would talk about him all the time. She grew up with her dad talking about her uncle who had disappeared. Her grandma, they talk about initially, it was like every day checking in with the police, and it became weekly, then monthly, but it never stopped. It got to the point every single year to the year she passed away, she was contacting them wanting to know, do you know anything else? Yes, it's been 50 years, 50, okay, 60 years, but have you heard anything else? It's just never giving up hope and knowing in your heart that you're going to find them one way. But yeah, that as a brother to know that, and we've got the pictures actually. I'll share with you guys. Actually, you know what? Let me pull this down and share with you guys the picture because that's in both of these cases. Let me see here. Go back to this. This is where it was. The first case, these are them. That's the brother and the boy, the guy who was kidnapped. So when they first went missing, and then all the years later. And think about all that's been missing in the middle of the time. And then this is the other case we're going to talk about, Melissa's case. 10 months old. And then here she is. She actually legally changed her name back. Okay, about a year after she legally changed her name back.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
it's really, really cool. So, okay, let me pull that article back up and we can go from there. Da, 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 da. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Oops, it would help if I pull us back. Here we go. Okay.
Services has led to some headline grabbing discoveries as people investigating their roots have uncovered family secrets, found long lost relatives, and even helped solve a cold case. Well, now a curious woman in California may have done all three. 63-year-old Alita Aliquin of Oakland took an online DNA test just for fun back in 2020. It showed she shared 22% of her DNA with a man living on the East Coast. But who was he? Well, earlier this year, the mystery was solved. The man is Alita's long-lost uncle, who had been kidnapped 70 years ago while playing with his brother. Luis Armando Albino was kidnapped from a West Oakland park in 1951 when he was just 6 years old. The family searched for years but never found him. In the intervening decades, Luis joined the Marines. He served in Vietnam. He became a firefighter. The family recently reunited. That's Luis there with his brother, and they are now speaking about their bittersweet family history. News Nation's Nancy Liu joins us live. Nancy, this is an incredible story.
Oh, absolutely incredible, Elizabeth. And there's still so many questions, but this incredible cold case originates here on the West Coast and only recently led to a phenomenal discovery on the East Coast more than 7 decades later. There you see Luis Armando Albino, just 6 years old, when he was kidnapped from a park in Oakland in 1951. He was with his 10-year-old brother.
Look at that. I mean, I was trying to figure out as a 6-year-old to be kidnapped and expected to just move on with your life, what he must have gone through. And it looks like the lifestyle between these two cases were different. We're going to hear about how the second case, she actually ran away because she was kept inside all the time and stuff because they were scared. They actually lived in the same town. Little different in this case. But hey, BC, how you doing?
Yeah, it
See,
really does make you wonder what all they put him through, because I can just picture, like, Junior turns 6 in a couple months here, and I
uh,
could not fathom her just dropping the fact that she's no longer with her family. You know what I mean? Like, that would
exactly.
you would never hear the end of it.
Yeah. No, you're right. They would talk nonstop. It's not like a 10-month-old or something where she just grew up. Okay, she was being told that she had, I think, something like a brain injury as a child, a baby. So mom kept her inside all the time and things like that. This was a kid who was out running around all the time. He was at a park with okay when he was an outdoor playing outside. It's not like nowadays where we sit playing. Our kids play on the computer a lot more. Okay, this was back when kids played outside all the time and all. So uh, here we go.
Luis is on the right here in that picture. They were finally reunited over the summer. According to the family, Luis lured away in 1951 by a woman who offered him candy, and then that woman flew him to the East Coast, where he was raised by a couple as their own son under a different name. Now, back in Oakland, his biological mother, she never gave up hope, demanding updates from Oakland police until her death in 2005. Finding Luis became a mission for his 63-year-old niece, Alida Aliquin. She took that DNA test, which revealed that match, and she cross-referenced with old photos and newspaper clippings. She tells me her two uncles spent hours and days discussing what happened. Take a look.
Before we go on with that, can you see? I know Gabriel Scott's family was saying they have gone on to every possible platform DNA wise possible. Because okay, what if he someday in the future, because he's now become a teenager, what if he goes on to Ancestry but not 23andMe? So they're having to cover all of these different bases. And could you see this mom all the way how many years of for what 55 years or so that she had to wonder what was going on. It's just yeah, you don't think about back in 51 child abductions were not and what I wonder is how much did that woman get paid to do what she did, because you know dang well she got paid money to do what she did. And which just yeah.
Listen.
They hugged. It was a very emotional hug. Then they sat down and they talked about that day that he was taken. Well, we've never forgot about him. We've always talked about him. And he did know that he was, quote and unquote, adopted, if you want to put it that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he knew that they weren't not his biological parents.
Sorry to keep pausing, guys, but think about that. 6 years old. What did they tell him? The amount of actual abuse in my eyes, just mental abuse, just from that. Okay, were they telling him? Yeah. Oh, your
Yeah, like,
parents
oh,
don't
they don't
love
want
you.
they don't want you no more. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much the only way you would probably be able to pull a child away is by doing something like that. Okay, oh, they gave you up or stuff. It's not which we all know. But
Now,
yes.
Luis came out west for a family reunion back in June, and he also visited for 3 weeks in July, mainly spending time with his brother, both of them military veterans. And that visit was his last with his big brother. Roger Albino passed away last month, but according to Alita, he died happier after finally reuniting with Luis. Now, Alita tells me her surviving uncle continues to live under a different name out on the East Coast, and he wants to maintain his privacy. And Elizabeth, there's also no further information about the couple that raised him as their own. Elizabeth?
Yeah, gotta wonder.
Well, you got to think with that. Did they know he had been taken away? I've always wondered in those cases, do you think it's just a regular adoption thing?
Yeah. I would
Or
say that,
yeah.
especially in that time frame that we're talking, I mean, 70 years ago, it'd be hard to like to have a paperwork trail and things like that. It'd be so much easier to just get some unassuming couple who has been looking for a child and basically sell a kid to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that they would think it was selling a kid to them.
No.
You know, they're thinking they're going through the adoption process. And so
Exactly.
his family that adopted him is likely completely innocent and has nothing to do with this. And I don't blame him for wanting to stay anonymous in a way
Mhm.
and keep his privacy and protect his family.
Right.
You know, his new family or his adopted
His
family.
old yeah,
Yeah.
and I can see that. I mean, it could be a couple, think about it, who always wanted a child, could not have a child, and they're like, "Okay, yes, we've got our little one," and not only that, they're willing to take on a 6-year-old, so, I mean, they're just bringing him into their life, and now from there, you've got the extended family on that side, and it looks as if it's not now the next case we're gonna look at, definitely there was a little bit more she states it was a more abusive type situation, things like that, and that's why she chose immediately, "I want my name as soon as I am legally pronounced as Melissa, I want my name back." And, where in the case of Louis, he's like, "No, this is who I am. Okay, I became this other person." It doesn't look like he's changed his name or anything like that. But now he has his extended family. He's got his niece. He got to see his brother before his brother passed away and all. Yeah, it's wow, but at the same time, kind of sad at the same time. And I feel for the mom who actually when I do this with every time whenever I see a family member, a mom or a dad pass without finding the truth. And also, but they'd have the truth now.
Or if any authorities are investigating possible crime of kidnapping. Nancy Liu, wow, what a story. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching.
Okay. So we have that. I want to switch over to the story because the article I found had a lot more. Have you read much on him before today or just heard about what was going on?
Of that guy, so I
Yeah.
didn't know his brother passed away, but I did know that they had found each other. Like I'd read those articles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I saw
actually,
it on
I read about
yeah,
this lady too. I think I actually covered her in the past, or maybe we covered her in the past.
could have been.
No?
Could have been.
Okay.
I was no, I'm not sure. I remember we talked about her, but I
Mhm.
was in Texas at the time.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
I remember trying to figure out with her, what are they going to do about the babysitter? What are they going to do
Mhm.
about the babysitter? And yeah, there were a lot of questions at the time. So,
For sure.
but yeah, I had found this article here. The NPR did a pretty good thing, okay, explaining stuff, what had happened with it. So we know he was lured away by Candy. He had been playing with his older brother. And think about that alone, just the guilt. Not only is he now the only brother, that's why I'm so happy they were able to get together. But living all those years, like you were saying, Sleuth, okay, with that shadow over his head, okay, with talking about his missing brother, but knowing that they were playing at the park at the same time and and grabbed him, okay, lured him over with candy, which we all, yeah, and then had him flown out to the East Coast. Um, They continued looking for him, could not find remains or anything. This was interesting. I guess his mom, Antonia, thought they had just moved from Puerto Rico, okay, the year before. And also, they were fairly new here. And because of that, she actually thought that someone may have grabbed him and taken him back to Puerto Rico. So for quite a while, that's where she thought he had gone. And as they mention here, okay, they made multiple trips to Puerto Rico where just in case he had been taken there. This is a rare situation when a boy disappears and doesn't eventually show up alive or dead. Oakland Police Lieutenant Dominic DeFrea told the Oakland Tribune in 1966, "I'd give an awful lot to find out why. It has taken 7 decades to begin to unravel that mystery. Earlier this year, long after his mother had died and his case had grown cold, it was Albino's niece who finally tracked him down." Elida Aliquin, 63, knew she had a missing uncle because her family talked about it. Her late grandmother always kept a newspaper clipping about his abduction in his wallet and displayed a photo at their family home. She decided to take an online DNA test in 2020 just for fun. Among the results was a 22% match with a man she never met. For those of you who've ever done this, they tell you how close of a match you are to people. And 22 is starting to show a little bit, you're within a generation of those people. And the Oakland resident reached out to him, but did not hear back or pursue it further until earlier this year. I give her like massive props because she kept trying. Okay, as we read through this, it wasn't just like, okay, she called and they got in touch right away. She kept pushing and pushing and pushing until actually it was the FBI who connected them. Aliquin and her daughters searched the man's name online, pored over microfilm of old Oakland Tribune articles, and became increasingly convinced that the man from the DNA database was their long-lost relative. OPD said she contacted their missing persons unit in March to alert them about the DNA test results and her uncle's possible identity. Armed with new leads and technology, police reopened the case. They searched through public records and of the potential match and collected DNA samples from his living siblings. Police said investigators were unsuccessful trying to reach him multiple times, and eventually they reached out to the FBI, to ask them to contact him, which is what they did. The FBI confirmed to NPR that it assisted Oakland police by our ability to access resources across state lines. Authorities have not specified where on the East Coast Albino had been living. The agents were eventually able to interview him and take a DNA sample. His statements and genetics confirmed what police call the best possible outcome. He was indeed the boy who had been snatched from the park 73 years earlier. "We didn't start crying until after the investigators left," Aliquin told Mercury News. "I grabbed my mom's hands and said, 'We found him.'" Details about his life on the East Coast are relatively scarce, and police say his case remains under investigation. They are asking anyone with information to let them know. He's a retired firefighter, Marine Corps, so both he and his brother joined the military. He served 2 years of duty in Vietnam. These are all the family stories that you talk about during Thanksgiving, when you're all sitting at the table talking about the family stories and all. These are the stories they never had, and now they have. He spent most of his life believing he was the son of another couple. In June, Albino flew to California to meet Aliquin and the other relatives. Police said the visit was arranged and funded by OPD investigators, FBI victims advocates. That's great. I did not know. I had not heard that. Had you heard about that one yet?
No, but that's really awesome that they helped that connection be made.
Yeah. It wasn't just going out and getting the DNA done and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
actually fly him out. That's amazing. It was an emotional moment for all parties involved and was a family reunion over 70 years in the making. She kissed her, hugged her uncle, gave her a kiss on her cheek, and said, "Thank you for finding me." He had some memory of the abduction and his cross country trip, she added, but had never gotten answers from the adults in his life. So probably just stopped asking at a certain point. During that trip, Albino reunited with his brother Roger, who had been with him on that fateful February day. The niece said the two grabbed each other and had a really tight, long hug, then sat and talked about the kidnapping, their military service, and more. Their reunion came at a bittersweet time. He died 2 months later in August. His daughter said, "I think he died happily. He was at peace with himself, knowing that his brother was found." She said she was glad she could bring some closure to her mom and uncle and believed her grandmother, who died in 2005, would be happy also. And who knows, with my story out there, it could help other families going through the same thing. She said, "I would say don't give up." And that's one of the things I was looking to see if there had been any update with Gabriel Scott, and
Right.
it hasn't been. But
Yeah.
what they're talking about in the Facebook group right now, they're like, okay, yeah, make sure that you're in all these groups. Okay, it's that little bit of hope that every couple years, as hope starts getting harder to hold on to, it's now given them more that they can hold on to, I suspect. And so it's just amazing. Yeah. I wonder
One of
if you
those
thought
things,
it.
like the moral of the story is to, if you have a missing relative, do your DNA test. And if you've been adopted, do your DNA test because you might be somebody's missing relative.
Exactly. Like I said, I've got a message from someone saying, my mom, okay, was adopted, and I'm looking at things, and I think my mom is actually your grandmother's. I actually have had that happen here. Okay, and it's just one of those things that, so my grandmother's not around, and
Right.
neither is her mom, but it's still interesting to put these things together.
Well, and the other side of things is if you don't have a missing relative and you're not adopted, still do it because you might be connected to somebody who is
Mhm.
wanted for a new number of crimes that they have DNA for, but they can't make a connection. Let's look at Brian Koberger, for example.
Yep, yep. And isn't that the greatest thing you can say? Guess what? I'm connected to. Oh my
You could be
god,
a
oh my
missing
god.
person, you could be connected to a missing person, or you could be connected to a serial murderer. I mean,
It is
so
so
do your
funny. It is
DNA
so
test.
funny.
Or
And
at least make sure somebody in your family has. Like I said, my
yeah,
aunt did hers. Like
yeah.
it's close enough to me. I'm not that worried about it.
There you go there. You know what? It's something I'm kind of happy. In fact, we've gotten to the point, my brother and I have done both of them. My mom has done one of them. And part of the reason is trying to track the family further back, but part has been the genetics. Finding out exactly what is going on, what are, okay, for especially 23andMe. I mean, they literally will tell you, okay, you are at a higher chance of being a morning person versus a night person. Okay, freckles, all these different genetic things we know about. But what has also been helpful with me is it alerts me to things that I need to keep an eye on health wise. Okay, do I have heart things connected to the gene? It's just so interesting, all this that's being given to us.
This
It's also
video
scary.
is not sponsored by either of
I
these
know,
companies.
exactly,
However,
exactly.
if you would like to do a paid promotional ad right about here,
Sponsor?
Local
I would
My
love
will
to.
accept commission.
You got it. Totally. Yes. And, no, no. No, but it is interesting. How many of us who looked at BRCA2, for example, and I know this isn't tied to anything with missing people, but that's what the whole thing with genetics, and it opens you up for those of you who don't know what BRCA is. That is the gene that is related to breast cancer, for example. And a lot of women get tested nowadays for it and make decisions at that point. For example, do you get do you have surgery, things like that. So it's really interesting. Ocean Tide, that would be terrible. It would be so Could you find out if all of a sudden you found out if we knew who Jack the Ripper was or something, and you're going through your stuff and you find out that you're related to Jack the Ripper or some oh my God, it'd be come on, you got it. I am the great, 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 great granddaughter. But yeah, it explains so many things about my life. And actually, exotic prairie, that was one of the things I actually thought about at one time because many of you guys know I wanted to be a single mother at one point. I wanted to have a child of my own. And I think a lot of people who are in that, and we're seeing more and more children who are being raised that way. And this is giving them their child. In fact, they've had cases where all of a sudden you've got like 100 siblings who are finding out they all have the same dad. It's kind of interesting on its own there. But anyhow, let's move on to case number 2.
You could be related to Elon Musk. I'm pretty sure, like, that's where
That's
he has like a
it.
bajillion children. I don't know
That's
if that's
gotta
how
be
we got
it.
here, but
It's like, come on, you want to put me in your will now, don't you? Yeah, of course you do. Sure. So, okay, let me pull this. So, this next case I actually heard about with Melissa. Like I said, I was in Texas at the time and just pretty close to this thing. Now, the difference in this case is this woman found out that she literally had been living something like 20 minutes away from her mom and dad and didn't even know that they were looking for her. She was 10 months old when her mom tried to set up a babysitter to babysit her. And the lady came by, picked her up, disappeared. And as I mentioned, and we'll see more about it in the article itself as we read through it, her story has been completely different. Okay, she says that it was an abusive, okay, childhood. Okay, she actually ran away from home because of it. And also, let's see here what we got here. Family search is free and offers what person that would be cool. That would be cool. And okay, let's go ahead and move ourselves over to this.
Make sure I'm awake.
So this is her mom and her.
And I'm just elated. I can't describe my feelings.
A feeling Alta Apentenko doesn't want to let go of. Finally, seeing her
wanna.
daughter, Melissa Highsmith, after 51 years.
I can't describe my feelings. I'm so happy to see my daughter that I didn't ever think I would see again.
On August 23rd, 1971, Melissa says her daughter,
Guys, I was literally just a couple months old at that point. That's how long she was gone.
was kidnapped from her family's apartment on East Seminary in Fort Worth.
That first year was really, really, really bad because they couldn't help me.
Melissa was just 21 months old at the time, and Alta just starting adulthood.
I was only 21 years old, and I was sad a lot. You know, I went through a lot of depression.
After years of depression, 5 decades later, Alta says 23andMe, a DNA genetic testing, matched them. The irony of this?
How far were you living apart from each other all this time?
Less than 20 minutes. Less than 20 minutes.
Do you think being that close makes it easier or harder? Knowing that your loved one was literally, you may have walked by them when you were at the mall.
I don't know.
Yeah. You can see that one fact actually made mom even more emotional for a second.
I was gonna say
And
it's almost like a slap in the face. Like it's kind of like the kids that end up being found like 2 blocks away or right in the neighbor's house, for example, or something along those lines. Like
yeah,
it's gotta be devastating as a parent. Like, okay, obviously she found her, she's alive, she's well, but if she wasn't, like to know that she was that close and like obviously the reality is that in reality you can't just look harder, right? You can't just look more But as a parent or as somebody who cares about somebody else, like, you always are going to hold yourself responsible. Like,
Right.
I should have done more. I should have looked more or searched harder. She was right there all of this time. Why didn't I go look at every single child's face? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like I said, you're sitting in a movie, you're going to go see Star Wars. Okay, all those things. And what if she was just sitting there at that time? Yeah, it's, oh, yeah.
What hurts Alta the most, Melissa says she never felt loved by the woman who raised her.
And it was just really an abusive until I ran away from home when I was 15.
And then where did you go?
I went to the streets. I did what I had to do to get by.
What does that mean?
It means I worked the streets.
After everything they've been through, they both gave up on hope.
I'm in seventh heaven. That, if I can say that, I don't know. I'm just, I'm basking.
In the end,
It's a miracle.
The Christmas miracle.
Yes.
I asked Melissa, what are the next steps right now? They're trying to just take it day by day and soak all of this in. In the near future, Melissa plans on remarrying her current husband so her father could walk her down the aisle and her family can be at her wedding.
Can you
Oh,
see
that's
that?
nice. Mhm.
Yeah, when I heard that, because I hadn't seen a lot of these videos after this story. And yeah, she didn't just change her name. And we're going to look at what happened when she changed her name. But yeah, to have her dad walk her down the aisle. It just, it breaks your heart and probably makes it even harder for mom knowing how bad it was for her growing up. But the love that you can see already building
Right.
there, they've
They
never been away
obviously
from each other.
they
Yeah.
obviously were both hungry for these different moments. And so it's nice that mom is alive in this case
Yes.
after 51 years, and she is able to, like, do this healing process and, like, rebuild
Ah,
and be there for these special moments, and dad too even,
dad is
um,
there. Yeah.
to be able to do all of that. And so
Yep.
it's really honestly a blessing for this family.
Yep. And like they said, okay, if you look at the Christmas tree and all, they've got the yellow bows on it and stuff like that. They've come together. It is a blessing for them. Okay, it's an answer to all their prayers.
The family plans on setting up a GoFundMe account as they figure out the next steps. We're in Haltom City. I'm Melanie Basu.
Okay. Yeah, so that interview just got me. But let me switch over real quickly. So actually, before I do that, let's show this. So, like I said, she made the decision that she wanted to go back to her original name, which is kind of interesting. Okay, at that age, I mean, we talk about it all the time. In fact, that was one of the discussions I had with my friend this morning, was Ariel versus Isabella, and um, and in this case, she was like, "Nope, I'm going to go back to my name, the name that my parents, actually, the people who really love me,
Right.
gave me."
I was gonna say,
So,
like,
yeah.
if you actually stop and think about it, if she never felt cared for or loved or even didn't ever feel like herself, and
Mhm.
then, maybe didn't even feel like her name didn't fit, now she knows why, and
Mhm.
props to her for doing this. I will say it probably got really confusing for anybody who has known her for any extended period of time. I could picture myself, for instance, constantly, like, calling her by the wrong name just
Oh,
because I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot." Like, I don't know.
I had a friend of mine, actually, when I lived on Kauai, that I worked with. She went by one name her whole life. Okay. And it was, I'm not going to give the real name, but say Anne.
Right.
Okay. And when she got married, she decided that had been a nickname she'd gone by her whole life. So
Mhm.
she decided to change it back to her legal name at that point. So
Mm.
all of a sudden, as of that day, we're all switching over to, okay, Jamie.
Right.
And it was the hardest thing. Oh my gosh. I don't know how. And we shared an office. So she and I were the only two in the office. And how many times I would call her by the wrong name, it never failed. But
ask in the
time.
bushes how many times I doxed her on a live stream just because I was trying to talk to her. And her and I have known each other long before I started a YouTube channel. And so every single time that I would say something, I'd be like saying her real name, and she's like, okay, in the bushes. Like, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
I
Like,
love it.
I
Oh
can't tell you
my
how many times I
God.
had to go back and erase parts of live streams because I'm like, oh, I did it again. She's like, you're
Oh my
doing really bad. And this of course is around the time frame that I'm getting doxxed and stuff like
Doxed.
that. And she's like, oh, it's okay. I'll just put my address out while we're at it. Like, sorry. I'm
That's why I get
doxer.
to the
I'm
point. It's
sorry.
like, yeah, forget names. Okay, we come up with all these fake names and all. It's like, I'm going to dox myself sooner or later.
She
It
was
never
not in
fails.
the bushes. She was not in the bushes any longer. We were calling her out of the bushes for a while.
I love it. I love it. Oh, yeah, she's both a dozer and a doxer. Yep, that's it. We all know. We always knew Sleuth Mom was a doxer. I knew it. Should have known it. So you grew up using your middle. See there, and when Mom, you try to pass. Okay, switch to your. It's hard. It is so. Even me, local Mai is part of my Hawaiian name, but it's so hard to switch back and forth at times. It drives you crazy. It's like you Miss Sleuth, okay? Nothing like being called Sleuth all the time. I have the hardest time switching over. By the first time I saw you.
I put up the name Nicole because there was a guy who kept coming into my chat every single day being like, what's your name? What's your first name? Can you tell me your first name? I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. I know you told me the last time. And so
Oh my
finally I was
God.
just like, it's Nicole. It's right
Nicole.
there now. Like, it's fine. Just leave it there. Like, I just
Oh my
got so
God.
tired of answering the question. I was just like, oh my gosh.
I
Because it
could
was
just
never
come
like,
out.
it started out as a huge secret, right? I was always just Sleuth
Yes.
Mom, but then once you're doxxed, I mean, heck, you guys, I was still waiting on Christmas cards. Like,
At least
so
turn
at
it
that
into a
point, I
good
mean,
thing.
yeah.
I remember when I called you Nicole the first time, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, Nicole. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Then I looked down. I'm like, wait, you have it typed there. Why am I all worried about this? Okay. Yeah. Zadok, I saw where people who adopted a child and it wasn't going well, they can find another family. Oh, don't even start me on that. I hear of that at times where you hear of a family who adopts a child, say from another country, and they get the child there and they either have medical issues they didn't expect to have or behavior issues. And it's like, oh, we'll just send them back. And I'm like, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if people feel differently about this, but I'm like, you can't turn back your own child if they have a medical issue at some point. I mean, you don't get the chance to return. Okay, there's no return policy on children. I'm sorry. Yeah, anyhow, I'm going on that one. So anyhow, so this was actually when she changed her name. So they were in the courtroom, and when she went decided to change her name, they videotaped it, and it's so cute. The moment they switch and the judge announces it, and the cheering and applause. So I just wanted to play that. Decades in the making right there. Just decades in the making. You can see the excitement in her. It's kind of like a giddy excitement right there. So, but let me switch us over to the actual Oxygen True Crime actually did a pretty good article on her. Let me ask in chat, how many of you guys put a 1 in chat if you remember this case, put a 2 in chat if you do not. See how many of you guys actually knew about this case.
So I actually did, like, I looked back and I did actually cover her at one point. And so that's, oh, wait, this one. Okay, so I'd covered this one as well. Is this the same one?
Wait.
Yeah.
This is the same one. Yeah, this is the same one. I'm like, wait, did I pull up the wrong one?
No. Yeah,
like,
so
oh my God, I
actually
pulled the wrong
cover
one.
her in the past. It's just been a very long time. And I did not know about her changing her name or getting married again, or AKA renewing her vows, I'm sure.
Right.
So that's really awesome updates.
It's kind of nice to go back and look at these cases because a lot of times we don't do, when we're covering so many cases, it's a small handful that we kind of follow.
For sure.
Okay. And yeah, and I hate it. I hate that. But
You know
at
what
the
though?
same
And
point, it's
so
good
many of mine
to
are still
see.
private. Like I had privated, whenever stuff started to hit the crapper
Yeah.
in in Sebastian's case, I just went through. I mean, we're talking 700 videos. I think I put private, and
Wow.
so
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
It's one of those things, and it's kind of it's good that we cover so many, but you also your brain is only so big. And you can only follow up. That's why I tell people if you guys can share with me news on Fridays that needs to be covered, guys, please help me because you can't be keeping an eye on everything that's happening. There's too much going on. But it's good to see when these things happen. Okay, especially in this case. This was great. So, okay, so we got quite a few twos actually. So let's do this. A Texas woman reunited with her family 51 years after she was kidnapped as a baby and then raised by another family, legally restored her birth name in court last week. Now 53, Melissa Highsmith grew up as Melanie Miyoko after she was taken from her parents' home in Fort Worth in August of 1971 by a woman posing as a babysitter. Last November, a family DNA match on 23andMe finally reunited Melissa with her birth family, who never stopped searching for their lost child. The woman, formerly known as Melanie Walden, stood before a judge in Fort Worth and changed her first and last name last Wednesday, a while back. As seen in footage shared on Twitter, which we just looked at, the entire courtroom stood for thunderous standing ovation. Jeffrey Highsmith, her father, could be heard telling the judge, "Thank you, Your Honor." Then the judge stood and joined in the applause before posing with the family. Interesting looking at the pictures. I don't know if you ever take a look at them, but sometimes they really look like the person, and sometimes I don't see her in that picture as much as I was hoping I would, but after
not at
how
all.
many years? Yeah.
Well, not
And
only that, but the fact that she obviously lived on the streets and different things like that.
yep.
She worked the streets. I mean, that
Yeah.
does a toll on people's bodies.
Mhm.
Um, very, very
Exactly.
quickly. They age very quickly. I
Quickly.
think though, if you were to take that picture and cut the hair super short, some of the facial features, like her
Some of
nose,
them.
for instance,
Yes.
it's gonna fit more. I think it's the
Right.
haircut and like how professional,
That's it.
no
Yeah.
offense to this lady, but how professional she looks
Yeah.
in this photo.
No, exactly, exactly. It's the difference in all those things. And you're right, that over time, plus I'm not sure what age they had her progress to there also. And plus she was so little at the time. I mean, you can't really see look at a picture of yourself at 10 months versus 51. Okay, I don't look even close to the same. So John
Identical.
Brown, yeah.
No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
yes, exactly. You were always set for this end also. Oh gosh. John Brown, Melissa's husband, posted about the emotional proceeding on Facebook. My breathtaking wife, I'm happy she's got such an amazing husband that they've been married okay, as long as they have, remarried, all that. My breathtaking wife, an amazing woman, has officially been given her identity back as Melissa Highsmith, he wrote. She is an inspiration to all and a beacon of hope to many. We want to thank the Lord for this great work that he has done by reuniting Melissa back to the Highsmith family. And she did. She went through so much, and she is, in my eyes, she is an inspiration. I mean, to go through all that, like so many other people who've been through really, really rough, okay, youths, and they've come together, and she's like, "Hey, I'm taking my life back. No one can take it away from me, no matter what happened in the past." In an interview with People last November, when it first happened, before police confirmed the family's private DNA test results this month, Highsmith said she was raised just 10 minutes away from where she was kidnapped by someone who posed as a babysitter. The whole time I was there, it was a bad childhood, she said of life with her captor. I wasn't allowed to go outside and play, and she always sheltered me, she recalled. And she said the reason she sheltered me was because I was born at home and that I had brain damage. I used to wonder, why did she even have me if she didn't want me? And that says one thing. I mean, that's one of those comments that oh, I'm keeping you inside because you have brain damage, that's showing the level of mental abuse, to be honest. I mean, saying that she cannot live her life to her fullest or go outside and enjoy her life or things like that. Yeah. Highsmith ran away from the woman who raised her at just 15 years old. It was abusive, and I ran away at 15 years old. I went to the streets. I did what I had to do to get by. What does that mean? I worked the streets. Highsmith's biological mother, Alto Apatinko, posted a newspaper ad for a babysitter shortly before her daughter was kidnapped. A woman responded to the ad, agreeing to meet the then 21-year-old Alta at the diner where she worked, but she never showed. The prospective babysitter called later, telling Apatinko that she really wanted the position and had previously babysat other children in her large backyard. Without meeting in person, Apatinko hired the woman over the phone out of desperation, having recently separated from her husband. I wonder why the lady didn't show up the first time. Did she act and she's like, oh yeah, I want this child, so I'm going to go do this? Then she was like, oh, maybe no. And then she chickened out. And I don't want to say chicken out, like, because that would have been good if she had. And what happened to make her decide to come back? Was it something, having second thoughts or something like that?
Right.
Yeah. And exotic Holly Miller story is incredible. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I need to recheck that one if I'm confusing that and another one. It's amazing when you hear these stories, and they're the hope that people need.
Right.
So, and on August 23rd, 71, a well-dressed woman wearing white gloves showed up to the Seminary Road apartment. When Apatinko was asleep, the woman told the roommate that she had come to pick up the baby and took away Melissa. Oh, think about that poor roommate, who was last seen wearing a pink dress and white sandals, according to the Star Telegram. 2 weeks after Melissa was taken, Apatinko published a plea to her kidnappers on the front page of the Star Telegram. I beg of you to call me, Alta wrote. I've been going out of my mind. After years of searching, now 73 years old, Apatinko told people that she had nearly given up hope. But the family continued to keep their missing relative in their hearts. They threw birthday parties for her each year after her disappearance. My family believed that she was still alive, and I wanted to believe it, but I had been disappointed so many times that I just told them to leave me out of it. You go ahead, you try to find Melissa, but please leave me out of it because I don't want to get involved. I wanted to lay at rest, but they didn't want to. Wow. And I can see that as a mother, you're trying to live your life. How do you do that? But I'm so happy she had that family who was there to support her either way. The Highsmith family hopes to press charges against the woman who kidnapped their daughter. However, due to statute of limitations, it may not be possible. So are you getting the idea they know who that woman is now? Someone may be away with a child, I think.
No, I
okay.
didn't realize I muted that other part. So yeah, it sounds like to me they know exactly who it is. Just statute of limitations, which to me, so my next question would be, like, I guess if you were okay with stealing one kid, like, did you stop there? Did you only steal one? Like, for me, that's such a, like, insane crime that I guess I wouldn't put it past people, but who knows?
No. If you would do it for you, would you do it for others people?
Right.
Would you do things like that? I mean, if you have no problem just walking in and walking away. Yeah, I remember one of the issues I had with not issues, but when this story came up, I was like, but what about the person? What about the parent? What about the person who took them? What happened? What happened? And we weren't hearing anything at that time. So I was thinking, yeah.
Kind of crazy to me that there's even a statute of limitations on something
on
like
this.
Kidnapping. Like, shouldn't that be a forever thing to me? I don't know. Like, I can understand, like, doing statute of limitations on, I don't know, like a stolen candy bar or something. Like, I mean,
something like that.
But a stolen child, like a whole child, like, oh, sorry, you can only press charges for that for whatever, I don't know, 7
Right.
years.
Exactly.
Like, I
Exactly.
have no clue what the number is. I'm just saying a time frame, but that's
Okay, and
just
that does
that's
make
crazy
sense.
to me.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, like murder. Murder does not have a statute of limitations. That's what.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
like, if the
saying,
side
yeah,
effects of what you did is a forever side effect, then it should be a forever amount of time that you're able to press charges. Like, I feel the same way about sexual assault and things like that. Sorry if I said that. But
no,
the the fact that there's a statute of limitations on anything that has a
hey,
forever effect on somebody's life, it's obscene to me. It
there
just
should
really is.
be, yeah. I'm looking, they're saying other crimes that often don't have statute of limitations other than murder is sexual crimes against minors. Well, in my eyes, whether it's a minor or it's still the same. Violent crimes such as kidnapping. So it must be Texas. I wonder if it's just Texas that has a statute of limitations. It could be on a state by state basis type thing. Crimes involving public funds and interesting there. So, but yeah, no, to me, you affect someone's life like that. Okay, they will never, she's never going to forget it. And, but it does make sense. Now, at first, I thought when
Right.
I started hearing that she had run away and all, I was like, did she lose track of her mom? Maybe
Hmm.
mom, I say loosely. And, but no, it looks like, yeah, they know. But
So
in a
Texas,
state,
I
yeah,
just did a quick Google
yeah.
check.
Oh,
So the statute of limitations for kidnapping in Texas is 5 years from the date of the offense, unless the victim is under age of 17 at the time of the offense. Then the statute of limitations is 20 years from their 18th birthday. This
so
applies to all
38.
types of kidnapping, including aggravated kidnapping, or if the defendant intended to sexually abuse or violate the victim. It's all in that same thing. So 20 years
Mm,
for people under the age of 17, 20 years from the time of their
38.
18th birthday. Yeah.
Yes. So 38 years old. So the thought is, well, if you haven't figured it out by the time you're 38, then
I think what's more concerning
that
to me
needs,
though is if you kidnap a 18-year-old after 5 years, it's just like, meh, well, sorry
yeah,
about your luck, 18-year-old. Like,
yeah.
so not that very many of those. I mean, I do think that
No,
18-year-olds get kidnapped,
I
to be
think they do.
honest, but
I do. That's
yeah,
where trafficking is pulled into play. Okay. It's not necessarily called kidnapping, but that's basically
right.
trafficking is kidnapping someone for sexual use.
Ocean Tide said Texas needs to do better. It's shocking that you even have to say that though, because Texas, I feel
Yeah.
like,
It's
is
one
one
of
of the
them.
more like harsh states
Yep.
on crimes, and so
Yep.
it's kind of
Makes you
shocking to
wonder.
me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Hawaii.
what's a really liberal, like easy on crime state? Can you think of one? Like probably what, California? Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, California, maybe I don't know. New York, New York. Let me see. You're checking California statute.
So for California, it says in the statute of limitations for kidnapping is 6 years. However, California Penal Code states that some crimes have no limitations, including kidnapping. Kidnapping is considered to be a continuing offense, so prosecutors can only convict and punish for one instance of kidnapping, even if the victim is moved. I don't understand. So does that mean that there is no statute, but there?
Sounds like there might not be a statute
No,
there.
see, so it says 3 to 6 years, but then it
Okay,
says it's a
there.
continuing crime. So what does that mean? Where's the
Oh, I
lawyers in
wonder
the
if
chat?
it's I'm thinking it might be the type of thing that if they move and they go to a different state or something, like maybe you can't say, okay, every time you move to a different location, if you've been charged with kidnapping in, say, Colorado, you can't be charged for the same kidnapping in that. It's only one charge, is what I'm thinking. I may be wrong on that.
Okay. So I just changed my search to kidnapping a child in California. So
Okay.
please, whenever I commit a crime someday and they're looking at my Google searches, you guys,
I
please
know.
come testify for me.
Yes, yes,
Not
please.
some psychopath. Okay.
Oh
Anyways,
my
in
God.
California, aggravated kidnapping of a child is a felony that has no statute of limitations.
Okay, there you
So
go.
that
So it's
is
interesting about
wild.
Texas. Yeah, New York, I'm looking right here, and there is in New York, there's no statute of limitation for first degree kidnapping. And conspiracy, yeah, no, just interesting. I'm looking
That
at all
bothers
the
me about
ones.
Texas though, because like with them being a
Yeah,
border state, I'm sorry, but look, there's 340,000 unaccounted for children right now, and that have crossed over the border. Just what we're
yeah,
talking about, just the border crossings.
yep,
And
yep,
so if those children are kidnapped right now, I'm not saying that they all are. I'm sure that some of them just don't have parents who are filing
right,
paperwork or whatever.
right,
But if some
exactly.
of those have been kidnapped, so you're telling me in Texas that
It only matters.
they're just SOL at 38 years old, like nobody could be held accountable for that. I mean, they wouldn't be anyways because they're
Yeah,
border children, so of course
right, right,
but
exactly,
that's a whole
exactly.
nother topic, but yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
know. Actually, that's a topic that would be interesting. Actually, the whole right now, there's, yeah, I'll talk to you privately about those as subjects for the future. There's some really interesting things out there that just frustrate me to no extent. But I think this case, with this whole idea, I almost guarantee you most people from Texas don't even realize the statute of limitations is so short there. It's not
Oh my
until
god,
someone says
look
something.
at the next paragraph.
But in a statement to the Fort List said that even though the criminal statute is, oh my gosh,
I
yes,
just
it
looked at
helps
the
to read,
screen.
doesn't it? Doesn't it help? And yeah, exactly.
It would help if
Oh
I
my
didn't interrupt and
God.
just let you read the article
Oh
so that we
my God.
even had
Well,
the
what's
answers.
funny is I've even read the article, but I was kind of skimming it as I was reading because I knew I'd come together later. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Yeah, there's different degrees of kidnapping also, as we just saw with the New York bit too. So I am happy they're at least going to look into it and stuff. But the problem is, what are you going to get them on? You can look into it, and everyone seems to know what the truth is, but it's just, I guess the whole thing is at least we know in this case she has her mom, she has her dad, she has people who love her and care about her now, and they've given her her identity back, who she really is, not just the name, but I don't think she really ever knew who she was as a person because of how she was raised by this other woman. And now she really knows who she is as a person because you know what? I'll be honest, family does make a lot of who we are. And that connection says a lot about who we feel we are as we're growing up. So,
Yeah, I
but
agree. And I'm
yeah.
sure that she probably sat there like many times growing up, like, this cannot be my mother. Like, I'm not
Oh,
related to this woman. She's a
mhm.
monster.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure I'm adopted. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
there's
Exactly.
probably things that did not ever connect.
No. I know how many of us kids all the time say, I'm adopted, mom. I know I've got to be. Oh, God. I used to say that all the time to my mom. When I get mad, it's like, I know I'm adopted. Why don't, and she's like, come on, just look at me, look at you, look at your dad. You can tell damn well I'm like an identical twin of my mom.
I
Okay,
was
at the
gonna say, I
same
don't think you'd get
ages.
away with that. I've seen your mom. Like,
Exactly. It's hilarious. So, but yeah, no, these are just some of the cases. And there's so many more that I've looked at. And these are just of the ones who've come home to family. How many others? Okay, DNA is just changing things dramatically for people.
yeah.
And it's just every time I look at the cold cases, and even if you go NCMEC, they have a whole page that's talking about a couple cases that were solved. Okay, thanks to DNA. So,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah.
there's so many. I mean, and that's something that I'm not trying to
Mhm.
but there's a couple different channels that do heavily donate and are involved in
Yes.
helping to solve missing cases, like Web Sleuth. She completely demonetized her platform. She is now an entity of BC, help me out. She does not collect super chats or anything else like that. Like everything that
Really?
she sends it, she asks everybody to donate directly to the organization that they help
Right,
raise money
right.
for.
You
No,
know,
don't know why I can't
and
find
that's
it.
I'm
It's
pulling it
all
up
about
right
just
now, and
identifying.
yep, I'm
Mm,
trying to pull it up right now.
Here it is,
Well, it's
DNAsolves.com. So that's who
oh,
she represents now.
yeah,
She does her channel for that purpose, and there's different cold cases like they have listed on their
right.
website. I can share it real quick.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, please.
that but there's different cases that they have helped solve, and I mean, obviously, we're talking about people who have been found alive that are able to get that closure with their family and
Right.
find out and things like that, which is great
Oh, for
news.
sure.
But there are so many unsolved cases that have never been found. And because of all of these advances in in technology,
Right.
cases are being solved like this one.
Closure
This is a
is
case
important. Yeah.
that they solved. A Jackson County medical examiner for a 2000 John Doe. After 24 years, a man whose remains were discovered by fishermen in Missouri River in Kansas City has been identified as John Gonzalez. But then they have these other cases where, okay, if you want
Right.
to read about this case and donate towards this one, they need $7,500 to run the DNA for each one of the cases. And so they list their goals and then they
Is this
list the
Othram?
cases that they've done.
Is this
Um,
Othram Lab or a different
so
one?
it's DNAsolves.com. This is
It's a
on,
different
oh
one.
yeah, it is
Okay.
Ortham. It is
It
Ortham.
is?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Because I was
down here
just
at the
trying to
bottom.
pull their link out also.
Yep. And so
It's a
like
different website though.
that's something now though, like instead of doing her
Yes.
channel the way that like most people do. And I'm sure that they have like they'll probably have
Oh,
her
yeah.
under their umbrella, the 5013C would
Oh,
be my
yes, I'm sure.
imagination, like probably like as an employee because it helps
Yeah,
bring, revenue
exactly.
to them. But look at all these
And that's
this is
fine.
recent
Yeah.
solved. Right.
No. And that's the thing. It's like one of the sites that I love to watch is Rotten Mango, Stephanie
Mhm.
Sue. And if you ever watch, okay, Stephanie on the Rotten Mango site, especially, she always donates proceeds
Mhm.
towards a group that is connected to something that they're talking about, whether it be RAIN because it's connected to SA, or it's something that's about women's rights because of, okay, whatever they're talking about is dealing women's rights. She connects everything that way. And I think I give her huge props. How many people here on this platform? Okay, and yes, I'm monetized. I'm the first one to accept I'm monetized. And
Oh
but
my,
how many step up and make a difference by doing
yeah.
that also?
I was gonna say you're
And
monetized some months. Like, well, that's
yeah,
the
I
reality of the
know.
situation
It
is
is.
we don't get paid out every month.
No, we
You know what I
don't.
mean? Not
I
covering
don't.
like hidden
Yeah.
cases and stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's one of those things where someday, once the channel is successful and able to
Yep.
take care of itself, like
That's
look at
it.
this. Look how many solved. These are solved, which means that each one of these is $7,500 that they have
To
raised
run the
to
DNA.
find. Yep. And they would have never been solved if it wasn't for
Yep.
organizations like this.
No.
And,
And
and
that's
it's
it.
just absolutely amazing what they're able to do now with DNA.
Wow.
So, and
Yeah.
I mean, it
It
just keeps
is. It
going. I
is.
mean, look how far down
I'm gonna
we
have
are.
to go to that site, dnasolves.com. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
definitely gonna have to go take a look there. And that's the thing. Okay, like you say, yeah, no, just because a channel is monetized does not mean it makes. I'm lucky if I get a payout every other month. I'm
Right.
lucky. Okay, and as for like I was talking to you earlier, just overhead of running a channel, StreamYard
Oh,
just
yeah.
upped everyone's costs. And so everyone's leaving StreamYard now because of that. Because
There's no way. You
otherwise,
guys,
yeah,
listen, they wanted, so originally, most of us were on the plan that $25 a month or
yeah,
whatever to be
yeah,
able to have your background and all those things.
yep,
They're taking it up to $44.99 a month. Like, that is
yep,
insane to me. They're literally doubling their price. They're not
right.
doing like a $2 or $3 raise. Like, they're
No,
completely just like they're insane.
it's crazy. And yeah, and I hate to say it, but I mean, yeah, me, I was like, I don't care. I'm putting money into this because I want to help in any way I can.
Right.
But when you start looking at, okay, all of these different things, okay, I think a lot of us as creators should come together and find ways that we can utilize systems together. And because you can get, you know what I mean? Well, even Canva.
Yeah.
Canva's going to be increasing their costs next year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one's going to go through the rough now too. They're going to wait at least I think it's next summer is what
Mhm.
a letter that I. But those are it's part of the overhead that people don't normally see. So that's why when I see people who really make the difference of putting whether it is one live a month saying all of this money is going towards something
Mhm.
or doing okay what webs because what web sleuth does guys I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for a lot of what Web Sleuth does, because of how, you know what, they're about facts, they're
Yeah.
about not getting into the speculation BS and
It's
stuff.
very
Yes, yeah,
reliable. Mhm.
yes. I could not, you know, that's the first thing that I look at. It's okay, what stories are out there right now? Okay,
Mhm.
and that becomes my first step to look, and then I go branch out from there. They do an
Mhm.
amazing job giving a voice to people.
Yeah.
And it's not just missing, it's voice for people who have been affected by true crime. Okay, actual victims. And
Yeah.
they're amazing. And sorry,
She's another one of those channels that honestly does not get the
get
recognition
the
that she
recognition.
deserves. And it's mind blowing to me
Agreed.
because whenever I first came to this platform, she
Yeah.
had around, I want to say like 28,000 subscribers, maybe.
Okay.
And everybody was right around that same number. Like I'm talking Grizzly was
Right.
right around that same number. Gray Hughes, he wasn't too far off
It
from her.
was
Um,
Annie.
and,
Yeah.
and yeah, Annie, they were all like right around that
Right.
same-ish number. And
Yep.
so many of them have surpassed over 100,000,
100,000.
like,
Yep.
yeah, or more. Like some of them are 500,000, some of them are higher than
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
like she's still sitting at 44,000. And
44.
what it comes down to is she does a different case every single night. Don't get me
Exactly.
wrong, like she'll have some, like she
Mhm.
followed the Daybell trial.
Yeah. Yeah.
She does all that stuff, but it's the same
Yep.
platform. And whenever it comes down to
And we've
it,
seen that.
yeah, it's the same
We
battle that
see
we
it.
face, like trying
Yep.
to, yep. If
Yep.
she wouldn't have
It,
covered the Summer Wells case, I wonder, so
if it
she
would have
covered
grown
that
even
one.
then.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Like, I wonder if she would still be down, like kind of where we are. No offense to
Right.
us, but
No,
or,
no. But it's
but
true.
but
Yeah. Oh,
if she
closer
wouldn't
to
have
you.
had
Yeah.
that,
I'm even lower.
well, right.
But
But
yeah.
if she wouldn't have
Mm,
had that one hit case, like would it
yep.
have been,
Well, we
so
know
I don't know.
most people, when you're following a case, okay, as a subscriber, for example, it's
Hmm.
hard to change case to case to case.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
And you want to continue it. It's like right now, I am watching, okay, the Stephen Stern, okay, all the Madeline Soto stuff like nonstop at night. That is the case that I'm really. Am I covering it on this channel? No, I'm not. Did I initially? Oh, hell yeah. I was one of the first ones. So were you. Okay. We were right there. But I'm just like, okay, guys, I can get all this information other places. And there are so many that need coverage right now. And there's only so many days in the week. How do you do it? But yeah, no, Web Sleuth does so amazing. I just really appreciate when I see her stuff up there. She did cover summer. I'd forgotten. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, she
Yeah,
covered her.
yeah,
That's what I was
exactly.
saying though, like, would she have actually gotten that boost to get where she is? Or would she be like kind of more like us where we're like on that struggle? I mean, whenever it
It's
comes down to it, even Gray, like Gray grew off of Kylie Rodney, that really propelled his
yeah.
channel. Um Obviously the Delphi case, like
Yeah.
there's certain cases. You look at my channel,
Oh,
you can look
yes.
at that for Dylan Rounds. You can look at, I
Yep.
mean, gosh, my one video on Dylan Rounds, I think I gained almost 2,000 subscribers whenever that
Awesome.
first happened.
Right,
And
right.
like that's that fast growth, and then it doesn't continue unless you stay with that case or unless you whatever. But if you're in a
Dip your toe
constant
into
stream of
drama.
moving cases, yeah.
Yeah,
And then you look at
exactly.
channels like Mel. Sorry, this kind of like took a whole left
Mhm.
turn, but
No,
cases
yeah,
like channels
exactly.
like Mel. Mel does different stuff, but Mel does police chases and stuff like that that still brings that drama
Which
in. You know
always
what I
does.
mean?
Yeah,
So
I find my channel, okay, when I get all of a sudden tons of people coming to watch, it's when it's breaking news like that. A
Yeah.
breaking news thing is almost a guarantee of
Yep.
pulling views in because
Ambulance
people
shapers.
don't know, what's going to happen? Is there going to be a crash here? What about this? What about that? And that definitely will give you. And drama definitely gives you stuff. But it can take away from stuff too at that point,
Right.
because like I've said from day one, I want to have a channel that if I have a family member show up in chat, that they've got a pretty damn good chance of being safe in that chat without coming and having to deal with trolls.
Right.
And that's my goal. That's my mission right now. Okay, is to make that so, and it does make a difference when all of a sudden, okay, it gets close where I'm like, oh, I could jump into the drama or stuff like that. It's what holds me back. It's what reminds me, no, you can't do
Right.
this.
Yeah, it's not
And
worth it.
no, it's not. It's not. And also, but this was good. Yeah, I've been thinking about DNA for a while and how much it actually, very seldom do we cover the cold cases. So we don't talk about DNA much because of that fact. So I wanted to actually kind of address that one today when it popped into my head. So thank you for joining us, my dear. We're back to our Wednesdays. I love
I
it.
know, right? So nice.
How long will that last? No. So
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
you got it.
Anyway,
You got it.
all
So,
right, it's bedtime. I
okay.
gotta go get this dog
Yeah.
to sleep. She's trying to figure out where she's supposed to go right now.
I bet. You'll have to tell me where she ends up going. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you. Thank you, my dear. And all you guys who joined in today, thank you guys so much for all the discussion. And are you trying to say goodbye or just stand up? Yes. Oh, you are nice. She got groomed today and she's toasty. Oh my gosh, is she toasty? So either that or my hands are cold. So thank you all, and we will see y'all Friday for me and Sleuth, maybe tomorrow morning or whenever she has free time.
Yeah.
So,
Bye, everyone.
guys. Bye-bye.